Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they never learn how to design a great life. What if your success, happiness, and wealth all boiled down to 10 simple rules repeated daily? Let's get brutally honest for a second. A great life doesn't happen by accident. It's built intentionally, consistently, and with clarity. It's not about luck or even hustle. It's about alignment. Alignment with who you are, what you want, and what you're willing to do every single day to get there. This isn't about being busy. This is about being on purpose. The world rewards the ones who show up focused, disciplined, and full of energy. Those who choose to rise when others sleep. Those who train their minds before they chase their goals. And those who live by daily habits that align with their vision. These are not just tips. These are 10 powerful rules to upgrade your mindset, reshape your days, and build millionaire-level discipline and happiness. If followed with intention, they will help you create a life of meaning, wealth, freedom, and fulfillment. 1. Own the morning before the world does. The first hour of your day holds more power than most people realize. It sets the tone for your focus, energy, and emotional state long before the demands of life start pulling at you. If you wake up reactive, checking messages, emails, and social media, you're already handing over your control to the outside world. But if you wake up with intention, discipline, and clarity, you build a shield around your mind that allows you to lead the day instead of follow it. Your morning is your edge. It's when the world is still quiet, when the noise hasn't arrived yet, and your brain is most programmable. Use that window wisely. Start by moving your body. You don't need a full gym session, just enough to elevate your heart rate and wake up your nervous system. Movement first thing in the morning isn't about fitness. It's about momentum. When your body moves, your mind follows. It signals to your brain that today will not be passive. It will be intentional. After movement, anchor your mind. Journaling, breath work, prayer, visualization, whatever centers you, do it. This is where clarity begins. Ask yourself, what matters today? Who do I want to be? What do I need to let go of? Well, when you train your brain to think deliberately before the chaos begins, you stop running on autopilot and start living with purpose. You stop reacting and start leading. Gratitude is the next layer. Not because it sounds good, but because it rewires your perspective. Instead of focusing on what's missing, you begin to see what's possible. Gratitude lowers stress, improves mental clarity, and reminds you that life isn't just about achieving. It's about appreciating. And when you appreciate, you operate from abundance, not anxiety. Then set your intentions, not just what you'll do, but how you'll show up while doing it. Will you lead with patience? Will you approach challenges with curiosity instead of frustration? Will you carry confidence into the room before you even speak? These micro decisions stack into macro results. The way you carry yourself in the first hour ripples into every conversation, decision, and challenge ahead. Don't leave your mindset to chance. Build it on purpose. Your morning routine isn't a trend. It's your daily vote for the life you're building. 2, set intentions, not just goals. Most people set goals. Few set intentions. And that's why even the most ambitious people often feel unfulfilled. Goals are important. They give direction, deadlines, and outcomes. But intentions are what give those goals soul. Without intentions, goals become hollow checklists. You might achieve them and still feel empty. But when you combine goals with intentions, you create a roadmap that's both strategic and aligned. A goal says, I want to lose 10 pounds. An intention says, I want to feel energized, confident, and connected to my body every day. See the difference. Intentions are about the way you live while pursuing your goals. They define how you want to show up, not just what you want to achieve. They guide your thoughts, your energy, and your presence. A person can hit a sales target and still be miserable if they've ignored their core values along the way. But someone who sets an intention to serve, to grow, and to stay grounded will experience success and fulfillment. Intentions create clarity in moments of stress. When life gets chaotic and your to-do list feels overwhelming, your intention becomes your anchor. It reminds you of your deeper reason for showing up. When distractions scream for your attention, your intention helps you say no with confidence, because you're not just chasing results, you're living with purpose. Setting an intention each morning is a powerful ritual. It doesn't need to take long, just a few quiet moments of reflection. Ask yourself, how do I want to feel today? What energy do I want to bring into my work, my relationships, and my challenges? Then declare it. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Anchor yourself to it before the world has a chance to sway you. When you lead with intention, you stop relying on motivation and start relying on identity. You stop chasing goals out of pressure and start moving toward them with clarity. You begin to align your actions with your highest values, and alignment is where true success begins. Intentions are not vague wishes. They're conscious decisions about how you want to think, act, and feel in the face of real life. They're your inner compass, reminding you that the process matters as much as the outcome. 3. Energy is your greatest asset. Guard it relentlessly in a world obsessed with productivity. People often forget that energy is the true driver behind performance. You can have all the goals, dreams, strategies, and tools, but if you're exhausted, burned out, and running on fumes, none of it matters. Energy is not just physical, it's mental clarity, emotional balance, and spiritual alignment. When your energy is strong, you think sharper, decide faster, lead better, and show up with presence. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's strategic. High performers treat their energy like currency. They don't spend it on drama, distractions, or meaningless tasks. They invest it where it multiplies, on growth, contribution, and high impact work. You don't need more time, you need more vitality in the time you already have. That means prioritizing recovery, honoring your boundaries, and saying no without guilt. Start with the basics: sleep, nutrition, hydration, and movement. These are non-negotiables. A tired body creates a tired mind, and when your physical state is low, your emotional resilience suffers. Great lives are not built on burnout, they're built on sustained momentum. That means getting real about the habits that drain you. Late night scrolling, skipping meals, saying yes to everything, surrounding yourself with people who constantly complain or drain your spirit. These aren't minor issues. They're energy leaks that slowly rob you of clarity, joy, and drive. Energy also comes from alignment. When your actions match your values, when you do what you believe in, and when you live with purpose, you generate energy instead of constantly chasing it. Think about the people who light up a room. They're not always the loudest or most extroverted. They're often the ones who live in integrity. They know who they are, what they stand for, and they guard their energy like it's sacred, because it is. And then there's emotional energy. Carrying around resentment, guilt, regret, or unspoken pain is like dragging weights through your day. You can't elevate your life if you're emotionally buried. That's why reflection, forgiveness, and emotional processing matter. You're not just managing your time, you're managing the energy you bring into every interaction and decision. The most successful and fulfilled people don't just manage tasks, they manage their state, they optimize the internal first so they can perform at their highest level externally. They understand that the more energy they protect and generate, the more powerful their impact becomes. 4. Eliminate what's not essential. In the pursuit of a great life, what you remove is just as important as what you add. Most people drown in distraction, not because they lack time, but because their lives are filled with things that don't matter. Complexity is the enemy of clarity. The more clutter you allow in your schedule, in your environment, in your mind, the harder it becomes to focus on what truly moves the needle. Simplicity isn't laziness. It's a strategy for high performance. Essentialism is about getting brutally honest with yourself. It's asking, what am I doing right now that is not aligned with who I want to become? That one question can change everything. When you start cutting the noise, you create space for what matters. Space for deep work, space for creativity, space for recovery, space for meaningful relationships. But that space doesn't appear on its own. You have to carve it out with intention and discipline. Look at your calendar. How many of your commitments are obligations, not choices? How much of your day is consumed by tasks that look productive but accomplish nothing meaningful? Meetings without purpose, notifications without value, scrolling without awareness. Every one of those distractions carries a cost. You don't just lose minutes. You lose momentum, mental clarity, and emotional energy. Minimalism isn't about doing less for the sake of it. It's about doing less of what doesn't matter so you can do more of what does. That might mean walking away from projects that no longer align with your goals. Saying no to people who constantly demand your time but never respect it. Closing tabs, literal and metaphorical, that keep your brain overstimulated and underfocused. It's not easy. It requires courage, but it's worth it. When you eliminate what's not essential, you gain something far more valuable than just time. You gain clarity. You start seeing the difference between urgency and importance. You begin to move with purpose instead of pressure. You no longer feel the need to do everything because you're crystal clear on what truly deserves your energy. This is how great lives are designed, not by piling on more goals, but by subtracting the unnecessary. It's about becoming selective with your attention and ruthless with your priorities. Because every decision to simplify is a declaration of what you value most. 5. Design your environment for discipline. Discipline doesn't start with willpower. It starts with design. Most people try to change their habits by forcing themselves to be stronger, more focused, more motivated. But motivation fades. Willpower gets tired. What stays consistent is your environment. And if your environment is full of distractions, temptations, and clutter, it will always pull you back into old patterns, no matter how strong your intentions are. The truth is, your surroundings are constantly shaping your behavior, whether you're aware of it or not. Your phone sitting next to you during work, your notifications buzzing every 5 minutes, the junk food in the pantry, the pile of unfinished tasks in plain sight. These aren't just small annoyances. They're triggers. And every trigger either supports your success or sabotages it. That's why successful people don't just work hard. They engineer their spaces to support consistency. Start with your digital environment. Unsubscribe from emails that add no value. Turn off non-essential notifications. Use website blockers if you find yourself slipping into mindless browsing. Keep your phone out of reach during deep work. These small shifts create massive improvements in focus. Productivity isn't about doing more. It's about removing friction so you can do what matters without resistance. Next, look at your physical space. Is your desk clean or chaotic? Are your tools, books, and essentials easily accessible? Does your room inspire clarity or contribute to mental fog? A well-organized space doesn't just look good. It reduces decision fatigue and lowers anxiety. It tells your brain, this is a place for action, not confusion. And then there's your social environment. The people you surround yourself with have an enormous influence on your standards, energy, and habits. If you're constantly around people who procrastinate, complain, or lack ambition, their mindset starts to leak into yours. But when you place yourself in rooms where discipline is normal, high standards are expected, and accountability is built in, you rise. Not through pressure, but through proximity. Design is about removing the need to make the right choice over and over again. It's about making the right choice automatic. Lay out your clothes the night before. Prep your meals in advance. Set up your workspace to eliminate excuses. Make the path of discipline easier than the path of distraction. When you do that, your habits become less about force and more about flow. You stop relying on willpower, and instead, you rely on systems that work even when you're tired, distracted, or unmotivated. 6, talk to yourself more than you listen every single day. You are in constant conversation with yourself. And the truth is, most people are losing that conversation before they even leave the house. They wake up and immediately start listening to doubts, to fears, to the lingering voices of failure and insecurity. But here's the shift that changes everything. Stop being a passive listener to your thoughts and start being an active speaker of your truth. Your inner dialogue is the foundation of your reality. The stories you repeat in your mind become the standards you live by. If your self-talk is filled with, I can't, I'm not enough, or what if I fail, then no amount of external success will feel secure. That's why talking to yourself with power, clarity, and belief is not just self-help. It's self-leadership. This doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing your language deliberately. It means rewriting the script that's been running on autopilot for years. Instead of saying, this is hard, I don't know if I can, you say, this is challenging, but I'm built for challenges. Instead of thinking, I always mess things up, you shift to, every mistake is making me stronger, sharper, and more prepared. The brain is always listening. It believes what you tell it, especially when emotions are high. That's why athletes, leaders, and high performers all use affirmations, declarations, and mantras, not because it's trendy, but because it works. Your words create chemistry. They influence your posture, your presence, your energy. And when you speak from a place of strength, your body and mind respond in kind. This practice isn't reserved for the morning. It's something you bring into every situation. Before a meeting, after a setback, when anxiety rises, when doubt creeps in, you catch the thought and then you counter it out loud. You shift from being a victim of your mind to being the author of your mind. The voice inside your head should be your coach, not your critic. Create a personal power phrase. Something simple, strong, and yours. Use it often. Write it on your mirror. Speak it in the car. Repeat it in the silence, because repetition rewires belief and belief builds behavior. Every day you talk to yourself with intention, you're reinforcing the identity you're stepping into, not the one you're leaving behind. 7, progress over perfection. Always perfection is the lie that paralyzes progress. It whispers, wait until you're ready, do it flawlessly, or don't try if it might fail. But nothing great was ever built in flawless conditions. Growth doesn't come from waiting until every detail is perfect. It comes from moving in the direction of your vision, even when it's messy, uncomfortable, and uncertain. Most people are stuck not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they're afraid to start small or imperfect. They overthink, overplan, and overanalyze, hoping the stars will align before they act. But progress doesn't require perfection. It requires motion. One small, courageous step forward, then another. Every expert was once a beginner. Every masterpiece began as a rough draft. Every breakthrough was once awkward, clumsy, and incomplete. Real transformation lives in the act of doing, the reps, the consistency, the days when you don't feel like it, but show up anyway. That's where confidence is born, not from getting everything right, but from proving to yourself that you can keep going even when you get it wrong. Perfection seeks validation. Progress builds belief. The obsession with perfection is often a disguised fear of judgment. We want to avoid criticism, embarrassment, or failure. But what's worse than being judged is being unchanged. What's worse than falling short is standing still. If you're afraid to look foolish in the beginning, you'll never look brilliant in the end. Because growth demands exposure. It demands risk. It demands that you try before you're ready. Set the bar at better, not perfect. Better than yesterday. Better than last time. Progress doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be real. One more rep, one more conversation, one more bold decision. Tiny improvements repeated consistently compound into massive results. This mindset frees you from the weight of unrealistic standards and allows you to fall in love with the process. Celebrate the action, not just the outcome. Track what you're learning, not just what you're earning. Perfection is rigid. Progress is alive. And when you focus on becoming just a little better every single day, you unlock a powerful truth. You don't have to be perfect to be unstoppable. You just have to keep moving forward with purpose and persistence. 8. Make courage your daily practice. Courage isn't a one-time act reserved for life-changing moments. It's a daily decision. Most people think courage is about grand gestures, quitting a job, starting a business, making a leap. But in reality, courage shows up in far smaller, more consistent ways. It's speaking up in the meeting when your voice shakes. It's setting a boundary when it feels uncomfortable. It's choosing to be honest with yourself when denial would be easier. Every single day presents a series of micro moments where you're either leaning into courage or retreating into comfort. Comfort feels safe, but it slowly kills growth. It keeps you in the familiar, in the predictable, in the small. The brain is wired to protect you from perceived danger, but the heart is designed to lead you toward expansion. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of it. It's feeling the nerves, the uncertainty, the doubt, and choosing to move anyway. And every time you do, you reclaim more of your personal power. The key to building a courageous life is repetition. Courage compounds. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. At first, it might feel terrifying to raise your hand, to say no, to ask for what you need, to try something new. But the more you do it, the more your nervous system adapts. You begin to rewire your identity, not as someone who wants to be brave, but as someone who is. Start by identifying what you're avoiding. That difficult conversation, that creative project, that big decision. Then take a small step toward it today, not a perfect step, a brave one. Courage isn't loud. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's just a quiet voice that says, try again today, or you've got this. That voice is easy to ignore unless you train yourself to listen for it and respond. Courage also means being seen, showing up authentically, letting go of the masks, the filters, and the need to impress. Vulnerability is one of the highest forms of courage because it requires you to drop your armor and trust that your real self is enough. And that trust builds over time through acts of self-respect, self-expression, and self-leadership. When you choose courage, you don't just grow, you inspire. You create permission for others to rise with you. Your bravery becomes contagious, and slowly your life shifts from safe and predictable to bold and expansive. 9. Connect with purpose, not noise. In a world overflowing with information, content, and constant digital noise, genuine connection is becoming rare and more valuable than ever. Most people are so busy reacting to messages, notifications, and surface-level conversations that they forget what it feels like to truly connect. But the quality of your relationships, personal and professional, will shape the quality of your life. And that quality doesn't come from quantity. It comes from intentional presence. Connection is not about being available to everyone at all times. It's about being fully present with the right people at the right moments. It's choosing depth over width, meaning over noise. It's realizing that every interaction is an opportunity to build trust, respect, and understanding, not just to fill silence or check a box. When you slow down enough to look someone in the eye, to listen without waiting to speak with clarity and intention, you create an energy that's impossible to fake. Real connection requires attention, and attention is a finite resource. Every time you give it to gossip, mindless scrolling, or shallow interactions, you take it away from the things that actually matter. Protect your focus like It's sacred because it is. You can't live a focused life if your relationships are built on distraction. If your attention is always fragmented, so is your impact. One of the greatest acts of leadership is to make people feel seen. Whether it's a team member, a loved one, or even a stranger, your ability to create space for others without agenda, without rushing, is a rare superpower. And it doesn't require hours. It just requires intentionality. 5 minutes of real presence is more powerful than an hour of half listening while multitasking. Connection with purpose also means aligning with people who share your values, your vision, your energy. When you surround yourself with those who challenge you to grow, who mirror back your potential, who hold you accountable to your highest self, you evolve faster. Not because you're being pushed, but because you're being lifted. And then there's the relationship with yourself. Purposeful connection isn't only outward, it's inward too. Are you checking in with your thoughts, your emotions, your goals, or are you moving on autopilot, disconnected from your own needs and dreams? Silence can be powerful when used for reflection, not just escape. When you reconnect with yourself, you reconnect with your purpose. And from that place, your external connections become richer, more honest, and more aligned. 10. Review, reflect, refocus. Every single night, success isn't just built in the morning. It's cemented at night. While most people end their day by collapsing into bed, scrolling their phones, or numbing out with distractions, the highest performers do something different. They pause, they reflect, they review their day with honesty and intention. Because the truth is, how you end your day is just as important as how you begin it. It's the closing loop that prepares your mind for rest, clarity, and a better tomorrow. Reflection isn't about perfection. It's not about beating yourself up over what went wrong. It's about stepping into a space of ownership. What did I do well today? Where did I show up with courage, focus, and discipline? Where did I fall short? What triggered me? What can I learn from that? These aren't questions for judgment. They're questions for growth. When you reflect consistently, you begin to see patterns. And when you see patterns, you can start to break the ones that hold you back and reinforce the ones that move you forward. This process creates awareness, and awareness is the foundation of transformation. You can't change what you won't confront. You can't fix what you refuse to see. A few minutes of honest reflection every night can save you months of frustration, wasted effort, and misaligned goals. It becomes your personal accountability system, quiet, private, and powerful. After reflection comes refocus. This is where you realign with your intention, what mattered today and what will matter tomorrow. Instead of waking up reactive and scattered, you go to bed with clarity. You decide before sleep how you'll show up when the next day begins. You reframe your challenges. You rewire your thoughts. You choose your focus in advance, so you're not pulled by urgency, but led by purpose. This nighttime ritual doesn't need to be long. 5 to 10 minutes is enough. A journal, a voice memo, a few bullet points. What matters is that it's consistent. It's a signal to your brain that the day is not ending with chaos. It's ending with control, awareness, and intention. Over time, this habit builds momentum. You start to see your own evolution day by day. Small wins get noticed. Progress becomes visible. And the discipline of reflection becomes the fuel for deeper growth, better decisions, and a stronger mindset